If you're a custodial supervisor at a local high school, you know that cleanliness is key, and that the best place to get cleaning supplies is from Grainger. Grainger helps you stay fully stocked on the products you trust, from paper towels and disinfectants to floor scrubbers. Plus, you can rely on Grainger for easy reordering, so you never run out of what you need. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hello, filthy movie lovers. My name is Gentry Austin.
And I'm Casey Scott.
And we're the hosts of the Sin Syndicate, film podcast for something weirdos, anti-criterion bros, and Joseph Sarno aficionados. Join us semi-weekly as we peer into the adults-only theaters and sticky-floored cinemas of the golden age of sexploitation, when the morals were loose, the laws were murky, and the intercourse was all simulated. Find us now on the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Welcome to the Kulturecast. I'm Chris Stachiw. Sean Liang is currently out this week. And for our final Kulturecast of Horrortober, I am joined once again by my good friend and horror fanatic, Mr. Eric Kniss.
Back again, because you guys couldn't get enough.
Couldn't get enough of that sweet, sweet, sexy voice.
Oh yeah, the sultry sounds.
The sultry sounds of the guitars from Wovoka. How's everybody doing?
Hey,
this is Dr. Homer Simpson. So we're going to close out Horrortober by talking about Rob Zombie's 2007 remake of Halloween, aptly titled
Halloween.
Halloween. All right, so this week for the Stream Police, my two picks are going to be Into the Inferno on Netflix. It is the new Werner Herzog documentary about volcanoes. It is as amazing as it sounds because A, it's Werner Herzog, and B, it's Werner Herzog talking about volcanoes. I mean, you know, I really like Werner Herzog. He's not for everybody. His style is very unique, and I think that's what I like about him. I also like his perspective on things and how he actually tries to like have something meaningful to say even about, you know, just volcanoes. But it's a Werner Herzog documentary. Either you're going to want to watch it immediately because it's Werner Herzog, or you're going to want to stay away because it's Werner Herzog. It's really good. I didn't realize it was going to be on Netflix, and then it just kind of popped up on Netflix, and, you know, it's really good. You should check it out. My other pick is Killer Legends on Netflix. I'm just going with documentaries this week.
Oh, that's so good. I love that documentary.
Yeah, so Killer Legends is I would say it's like the spiritual sequel to Cropsy, which is the documentary that the two people who did Killer Legends directed prior to it. And that film kind of talks about this possible serial killer / urban legend that was in New Jersey. And so it was kind of like a micro documentary about like a very small urban legend subject. And then in Killer Legends, they kind of talk about the man with the hook for a hand, children on Halloween being poisoned by candy, and I forget what the other one is.
I think they talk about, oh god, it's been like a year since I've seen it. They talk about what is that town that sort of inspired that movie, the town that dreaded sundown.
Oh, in Texarkana, yeah.
There you go, yeah.
That's in Texas, yeah. It's right on the Texas-Arkansas border.
That would make sense.
Yeah, it's a good documentary. It's really interesting to kind of see where our urban legends come from and kind of how they get changed and molded and affected through like real life information and kind of just the way the public perceives something and then how it kind of gets passed down as like an oral tradition, I think is a really interesting subject matter. And that's kind of what Killer Legends talks about. Plus the two documentarians who are part of the film are really fantastic. Joshua Zeman is a fantastic documentarian, and I'm really curious to see what his next film is, if he's going to kind of keep with this Cropsey, Killer Legends kind of line, or if he's going to do something completely different. So
yeah, I like the whole like true crime sort of breeds horror type of thing that he's got going on.
What about you? What are your 2 picks this week?
Okay. Pick number 1 is going to be, it's a show that's on Sci-Fi, but you can actually download it through, I think it's Amazon Prime or something like that. That's called Channel Zero. If you've delved into, like some of the more well-known, like creepypastas and stuff, like cruising around the internet, like some of the better ones, this show, I guess, is going to tackle some of those creepypastas, like on a season by season basis, kind of like American Horror Story.
I'm glad you suggested this because I was going to.
Oh, you know what? The first episode was super weird and I was like, what the fuck is even happening? And then after like the second episode, I was hooked. It's really, really well done for something that's on the fucking Sci-Fi Network.
Which, let's be honest here, the Sci-Fi Channel recently, I don't think of it as like the place for good quality anything.
No. I mean, I can't even tell you the last time I like looked for something to watch on the Sci-Fi Network. Like maybe every once in a while when there's like, The Matrix or something is just on TV on Sci-Fi, I'll watch it. But yeah, I don't know. This is really good. It's taking them in a completely different weird direction, which I really like.
And it's pretty well done too.
Yeah.
I was surprised at like the quality of it.
Yeah, it's really slow, which is going to turn off a lot of people because it's like one of those things that like you really have to fucking pay attention for the entire hour that the, show is on. Like you can't be doing stuff in the background and expect to understand what's happening, because I had to watch the first 2 episodes twice and I still don't know what the hell is going on. So I don't know. I hope it keeps getting better. As so far, it keeps getting better. The other thing that I'll recommend is, I haven't even watched anything this week. You know what I'm going to recommend? I'm going to recommend Evil Dead, the remake. If anybody listening to this has ever not seen that remake, because we're talking about a remake today, that remake is the shit. I went into that movie thinking that it was going to suck. And the first time I saw it, I totally hated it. And I didn't watch it for like 6 months. And then I watched it again later on. And I completely changed my mind. It's like one of my favorite movies ever. And I love the original Evil Dead movies. For Halloween, it's like definitely one of my must-watch movies.
So I really like it. I understand why people don't like it for a number of reasons, namely, gender swapping is gimmicky.
Who cares?
I get it. I mean, I get people being pissy. People are allowed to be pissy about shit like that. Do I think it's right? No. But again, people are allowed to be pissy. That's your own prerogative. I am curious, though, if the film will end up tying into Ash vs. Evil Dead at some point.
A couple of years ago, I read some interview with Sam Raimi, and they were talking about this whole universe that they were going to create of having Evil Dead, the remake, and then the original Evil Dead Army of Darkness, now turned Ash vs. Evil Dead, universes collide. But I think that was before Ash vs. Evil Dead was like a TV show.
Right. And I honestly think that those universes should collide because they like set it up at the end of that film.
Yeah, they totally did. But I don't know, man, because they're too, like the tonality between the Ash vs. Evil Dead universe that they've now created, which is now going to be my third suggestion now that I'm thinking about it, because if you haven't been watching that show, you're an idiot and you need to be watching that show, it's like really fun.
Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.
It's very much like Evil Dead 2 even more so like Army of Darkness type of thing, where it's like this really cool, fun, like campy, but like not in a shitty way, like horror thing, where every episode's like a blast, you know? And there's tons
it's awesome
of gore.
it's awesome to see Bruce Campbell like doing the role that made him famous.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, it's him. It's just Bruce Campbell doing Ash, which is like, you know, what he should be doing for everything. It's pretty much what he does for everything.
Bruce Campbell is Bruce Campbell.
Exactly.
Like that, the Ash and Bruce Campbell are kind of the same thing in my mind.
Yeah, if they weren't, you know, 30 years ago or whatever, like they pretty much are now, so.
Yeah.
And then the Evil Dead remake is like this fucking brutal, hardcore, at times like hard to watch movie. Like, it's way more graphic than any of like the, you know, original Evil Dead movies. So I don't know how you justify those like completely opposing like tones with each other. Like there was very little campiness in the Evil Dead remake. Like it had its lines, but it was still, for the most part, just a fucking brutal movie.
Well, and, you know, I think that maybe down the line they will do something, but maybe there's not a point at this point because of how successful Ash vs. Evil Dead has been.
Yeah. Did you see, what's his name? It's Fede Alvarez, right? The guy who did the remake?
Yeah.
Did you see his new movie, Don't Breathe?
I had not seen it yet, but I've heard good things.
Oh, yeah. I won't ruin it for you, but it's probably, I don't know. It's up there for my favorite movie of the year for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he's a very stylistic director, and it seems like he's going to be keeping with doing horror movies, which, you know, someone who has a very specific style, that's not a bad thing. Because often working within the genre framework of like genre films is pretty good for someone who has a very distinct style.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're a really stylistic director or writer and then you try and step out of that and do something that's like not stylistically, like, you know, doesn't stylistically flow with how you work, that's when bad movies get made.
Yeah, I completely agree. Speaking of bad movies being made.
Oh no.
Let's talk about Halloween from 2007. It was directed by Rob Zombie. It stars Malcolm McDowell, Brad Dourif, Taylor Maine, Daig Faerch, Sherry Moon Zombie, and as Laurie Strode, Scout Taylor-Compton. The IMDb synopsis for the film is, after being committed for 17 years, Michael Myers, now a grown man and still very dangerous, escapes from a mental institution, and he immediately returns to Haddonfield, where he finds his babysitter, Laurie. Anyone who crosses his path is in mortal danger.
Tonight's brutal murders was described by police as Manson-like in its viciousness. 3 people brutally murdered and a 10-year-old boy being held in custody.
You haven't said a word for 15 years.
This summer, Rob Zombie unleashes a unique vision of a legendary tale.
Listen, be careful tonight. A lot of nutcases come out on Halloween.
Is the boogeyman real? Why are you so obsessed with the boogeyman, Tommy? Halloween night, the boogeyman attacks kids who don't believe.
Oh no, Tommy! Boogeyman's gonna get me!
I'm gonna cut that mask right off your face.
He's come back for his baby sister. To do what?
So, I know that you really like this film, Eric. So I'm kind of curious, watching it again, what's your take on the film?
I still like it. We kind of touched on this earlier a little bit. Watching the director's cut of the movie, which is 2 hours long, is probably 30 minutes too long. It's been a while since I've seen this movie. I do really like it, like even as a remake, and I really like the original. I don't know, maybe just because I'm a big fan of like Rob Zombie's tone or his like voice in his movies, like everything from, House of a Thousand Corpses to, The Lords of Salem or whatever. Like they all have this really cool 70s like grindhouse feel and everything. And this movie is not as like stylistically crazy as something like House of a Thousand Corpses. It really kind of is more of like a
safe.
It's really like early 80s, late 70s, like slasher movie, like, but just like hyper violent and really brutal, which I think is why, and I don't know, I think we'll probably end up talking about this a little bit as we go on, is why I like his Halloween 2 more than I like this movie. Because that movie's fucking out there.
Okay, so before we talk about this movie, I'm curious, for you, who is your, like, quintessential slasher, like, film slasher?
Okay, so, like, a person... Are we talking about, like, a villain? Or like
yeah, so any horror slasher could be Freddy, Michael Myers, Jason, Leatherface. Who is your favorite?
I don't know.
Because I feel like for me, mine is defined also by who his like nemesis, his final girl is. If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that's fair. To be honest, I've never been like a super crazy like slasher guy. Like, if I had to pick a favorite, I don't even know. Maybe Freddy. Just because New Nightmare, like to have Nightmare on Elm Street, and then we'll just skip over the second one and then all the other ones, and then go straight to New Nightmare.
The third one is not bad. I like the third one.
The third one's okay. It's definitely way, way better than the second one. It's like the only 3 of those movies I'll watch is the first, the third, and the New Nightmare.
And Freddy's Dead is awful.
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a big slasher guy in general. Like, I've seen every single Jason movie, and, I've seen all the Halloween movies and everything like that, but I don't know. It's just not, in general, it's not my horror movie style of choice, so I can't really pick a favorite.
If you're looking for more horror outside of the mainstream, look no further than Unsung Horrors, a podcast about underseen horror movies. I'm Lance.
And I'm Erica. Every other week, we'll cover a horror movie with fewer than 1,000 views on Letterboxd. We'll even give you double feature recommendations to pair with the movies we discuss.
From gothic to shot on video, from slashers to comedies, from giallo to J-horror, we'll cover all the subgenres. So join us as we unearth these hidden gems of horror.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at Unsung Horrors, available wherever you listen to podcasts. And part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
If I was going to pick a favorite, it would either have to be Freddy or Michael.
See, that's my issue. I really have never had any sort of affection for Michael Myers. That's not to say I don't like Halloween, because I think the original Halloween is like an absolute like classic.
Yeah.
Halloween 1978 is absolutely like one of the best horror movies ever made for a lot of reasons. However, the character of Michael Myers in that film exists only to kill people. He doesn't have like an interesting story.
Right. And that is part of what makes me really like this movie, because it delves completely into like the character of Michael Myers, which they never did in the originals.
Right, because in the original it's just like, and he's the shape and he kills people and that's it.
Yeah, and I don't know. They end up like slowly explaining it over the course of like, several movies. But like this movie, the reason why I like this movie is because it gives you like a really, I think at least, compelling backstory of a completely insane like psychopath. It's like the whole first, like, I don't know, 45 minutes, hour of the movie is just like a how-to on how to create a psycho killer, just remorseless human being. And I don't know, just that in itself. I mean, we're going to say this 100 times during this podcast that this movie was 30 minutes too long. And they could have cut out, you know, some of like the unnecessary stuff, you know, like with the childhood or whatever. And, but I don't know. I really liked it. I think that's almost my favorite part about this movie is that they go into the backstory. Like, that's the first thing they do. And you don't get that in the original. Like, this movie is almost more about Michael Myers than it is about Laurie Strode, which is the complete opposite of the first movie.
You know, that really is kind of what I think Rob Zombie set out to do with this film, is to make a film about Michael Myers, not about anything else. And I think that works to an extent, but I mean, I can only see Taylor Maine, like, sitting around killing people for so long before I'm like, can we get to, like, something happening? Like, where is this going? And I think that the first half of this movie is the good part of this film. And I think that the second half, where it essentially just starts copying the original Halloween, I think that's where I have more issues with this film, because Rob Zombie's kind of doing his own thing the first half of this movie.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. The first half of this movie is much better than the second half of this movie.
Right. And then you get to the point where it all of a sudden just kind of becomes him doing a riff on the original. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, this isn't great, because you're working inside of a box, Rob Zombie, and you're at your best when you're not working inside of a box.
Yeah. I mean, there was some parts, like when I was watching this movie last night, and it's going to be the exact same as when I watch Videodrome. I was watching it at like 3 a.m. And so, I was watching this movie, and I noticed, like, towards the end of the movie, you know, Dr. Loomis was wearing the trench coat, like, exactly the same way that, you know, the original guy was wearing it in the first movie. You know, he's got he brings the gun with him to the house and all of this shit. And I don't know. There's a lot of parts where I was like, dude, you didn't have to make it exactly like the first movie. And there's a lot of parts that are different, you know, like the very end of the movie is different than the original one, which I actually liked. But the whole, like, first half of the movie is what makes this movie watchable for me. You know, I'm not going to watch it, you know, every couple of months, but, you know, I'll watch it once a year around Halloween. It's definitely worth it.
Well, and that's the thing with this movie is when the beginning of the film does something so interesting, and then the second half of the film does so little interesting.
I can only watch, you know, teenage girls screaming and getting stabbed for so long before I'm bored.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, I feel like Laurie Strode in this film it's more obnoxious than in the original. Her just like screaming for the last half hour of the film.
Yeah, it's a lot of her just like screaming and sobbing and crying and just like, I don't know. It's, I almost think you leave the first half of the movie exactly the way it is, and you cut the second half of the movie by 30 minutes. Just cut out a bunch of unnecessary, like, stalking and killing, and let it be simple. Let the story be about the sort of creation of Michael Myers. Like, you know, he doesn't need to, I don't know, he can still kill, like, 45 people, which, I don't know. I was trying to keep a counter in my head of how many people he killed in this movie, and it was a lot.
I mean, you know, when you have a film like this, where it is a direct remake, obviously with some artistic, you know, license taken on Zombie's part to make it more Michael-centric, less about the town of Haddonfield, and, you know, more about the character of Michael and how he became a psychopath. First off, I don't feel like Rob Zombie did a very good job of making me understand why Michael was a psychopath. He was just kind of like, and he's bullied, so bullies kill people. Yeah, and he kills little animals. Like, but I felt like they were trying to like say something.
I think the beauty of like Michael Myers as like a slasher, and like even in the originals, it's because I think what scared people the most is just there's no reason. Like, there's no rhyme or reason to this. It's just happening. And that's kind of, and I think Zombie took that sort of idea and gave it more backstory so that at least we understand a little bit as to why. But there's that quote, like, right in the beginning of the movie that's like a quote from Loomis or something like that. The quote goes something like, I don't know, it's like the scariest monsters are not the ones that stay in the abyss, but the ones that come out of it and walk silently among us. I think so. He sets the movie up with that quote. And so the whole thing is, it's like, maybe there is no reason. Maybe this kid, it's just a perfect storm, and this kid just snapped and never came back.
Speaking of Dr. Loomis, what do you think of Malcolm McDowell taking over the role that Donald Pleasance really knocked out of the park in the original?
I do like him in this movie. I like him in general as an actor. He basically plays, it's another one of those guys. He basically plays himself in almost everything, like to varying degrees, but I thought he did a good job. What do you think?
When you have the shoes to fill that are the shoes of Donald Pleasance in the film, I think he was really good. I really like him in this film. He's a really good actor. He really kind of brings some gravitas to the role, obviously. He is from, Clockwork Orange, Caligula, all those really like high profile work that he's done in the past. So he really lends some like credibility to the film as Dr. Loomis.
Yeah. I think you had to have somebody like him play Loomis to sort of explain what's going on with Michael, because Michael doesn't talk for the majority of the movie. So you get this kid / adult later on who, my question is, how the hell did that kid, this like pudgy little chubby kid, go from being like 11 years old and like a little chubby wuss, and then all of a sudden he becomes 30-ish and he's like 8 feet tall and invincible and insanely fast but never runs? I want to know how that happens when you're in a psych ward for 17 years.
I don't know either. That was kind of like, it was a little unbelievable.
Yeah, but whatever. It's a slasher movie. There's going to be stuff like that doesn't make any sense. Also, the other thing is, how did they jump from like the 70s to like the 2000s in a span of 17 years? Did you get that vibe from it?
Kind of. All of a sudden they're talking about like cell phones and like, I was like, wait, what? Like, what?
Yeah, I don't. So obviously the beginning of this movie does not take place in the 70s. It's got to take place in like the really early 90s. But it's like they set it up with like, 70s music, and he's wearing a Kiss t-shirt, and they're driving an old car that looks like it's from the 70s. So I don't know. I was a little bit confused about that we jumped from seemingly a farther decade than 17 years would allow for. And then we're in present day with cell phones and shit like that. So I don't know. Little quirky things that just kind of bug me about this movie.
Well, it's like the style of Rob Zombie, right? Where it's just like, it's very stylistic in Rob Zombie, and just look the other way and don't worry about that stuff. Kind of one of my issues with Rob Zombie has always been, and will continue to be, him casting his wife and stuff.
You know what? I don't care. She's super hot. I want to see her in everything.
But she's not a good actress.
You know what? She does fine in this movie. Are you really gonna, like, shit on her being Michael Myers' mom and then shooting herself?
I'm not gonna shit on her, but I'm gonna say that her as an actress is not good.
She's not the greatest, but I don't know.
A lot of the dialogue in this film is like, it kind of borders on like campy and...
Yeah. Did you notice how many times they said Michael in this movie?
A lot.
This movie should just be called Michael, and it should star John Travolta.
And he's an angel.
And he's an angel, but on one day a year on Halloween, he murders people.
The dialogue in this film is not particularly well written. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I can look past that aspect of it pretty easily, just because it's a slasher movie. I'm not looking for game-changing dialogue and everything. All the portions with Malcolm McDowell are great. He's great. I'm sure that he took whatever dialogue was there and then, made it his own, or,
I also do love how, like, all of the Rob Zombie usuals show up. Mm-hmm. As well, like Sid Haig, William Forsythe, Ken Faree is in this movie?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I totally forgot. Because when I saw him, and that part of this movie was, like, really, I don't know. It's plot conveniences, for sure.
Oh, and he just happens to kill a guy who's his size.
Like, abrupt things like that. Like, oh, now this guy's going to be wasted, and him and his cousin are going to go and take this chick, and for some reason rape her in front of Michael Myers in his room for absolutely no reason. Like, I don't know. I
also felt like the way that they introduced the Michael Myers mask in this film felt astoundingly ham-fisted.
Oh, like with the kid?
Yeah, with
the house?
Yeah, with the brother, like with Michael Myers' sister's boyfriend.
Yeah.
Like, I want to have sex with you with this random mask. In the original, it's just like he steals it from like a hardware store that has Halloween masks.
Yeah.
In this film, it's like there's like meaning to it.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I prefer that to just stealing it from a hardware store.
I like the idea of the randomness of it from the hardware store more than like, it just feels so strange. It's like, and there's this like random ass William Shatner mask that he's having sex with her. It's not like.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to play into like the problems that you have with doing a remake. Like, how do you introduce something so iconic? Like, there's nothing more iconic to Michael Myers than his mask. So how do you introduce that? You know, you don't want to do it the same way that the original did it, because then it's just a cop-out. Then you're just copying the movie, and why the fuck do a remake in the first place? So, I don't know. I can forgive him for the introduction of the mask that way.
I want to forgive him for it, but for me it's like eye rolling. I was like, all right, okay, you're gonna do it this way, sure. It's a little much for me because I think that stuff like that reinforces my problems with this movie, if that makes sense. And one of my big problems with this movie is Rob Zombie does some interesting stuff, namely with the character of Michael, but at the same time he also does some stuff where I'm like, man, they did it better in the original. Like, why don't you just copy that from the original?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a fine line when you're doing a remake on what stuff you copy and how much you copy and what stuff you change. I don't know. I would have almost liked to have seen more stuff just completely different. Just don't even...
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, why not just go completely nutso with this film?
Yeah. Use the same characters. Use the Laurie Strode. Use the Dr. Loomis. Use the Michael Myers. The first half of this movie is perfectly set up to do something like that. But then, you know, change the second half of the movie. You know, don't make it the same as the first one, you know, where she's babysitting the kids and, like, doing all this stuff. Change the character of Laurie, which I think is why I liked the second one so much better than this movie. Because in the second one, he changes Laurie's character. She's no longer the innocent, like, oh, I'm just the girl babysitting kids on Halloween, and now this random guy is going to come and try and murder me.
Well, and in the second one, they kind of explore her mental failings, correct?
Yeah, that movie came out in 2009, so 2 years later. I'm a little bit surprised that after this movie came out, they were like, all right, we want you to do
a sequel.
We want you to do Halloween 2. And I don't know, I'm glad that they did, because his Halloween 2 is much better than this movie. It's also much more brutal. That movie is a rough movie to watch. But I don't know. There's a lot of really, I don't know, maybe whoever was in charge of all this saw the parts of this movie that we liked and said, if you take all of these parts that we like and you make a second Halloween movie, it's going to be much better than the first one. And I don't know, like, how well
it was. It was very poorly received. The second one was. I mean, I haven't seen the second one, but again, I think you're right with them being like, well, we need to really give Zombie. I think this movie would have been a hell of a lot better if Rob Zombie had given himself more room to work with and felt less obligated to stick with the original John Carpenter film.
True. Yeah.
Because the parts that are the good parts of this movie are the parts that are not carbon copied shit from the first film.
Yeah. No, I agree.
It's strange to me that was when they kind of came back to this film, they were like, oh, let's just do the whole second half of this movie the same as the first movie. Like, why not just watch the first movie then?
Yeah.
To me, the second half didn't do enough new and interesting to really warrant watching essentially anything past when Michael comes back to Haddonfield.
Yeah.
And Scout Taylor-Compton is not better than Jamie Lee Curtis.
No. And if I'm being honest, I'm not a particularly huge fan of Jamie Lee Curtis.
No, I'm not either. She is not, for me, my favorite, like, horror film heroine is either Sidney Prescott from Scream or Nancy Thompson from Nightmare on Elm Street. Those are my, like, two favorites. Everyone else, you know, they kind of fall into the same kind of camp. They're all right, but I mean, there's not a whole lot to them.
Exactly, yeah. No, I'm gonna agree with you on those selections for sure. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, she doesn't really get a whole lot to work with in this movie. I mean, she doesn't really show up until the second half of the movie, and then it's really just her screaming and crying and running away from Michael Myers, and then, spoiler alert, shooting him in the fucking face.
Which I'm assuming they address that somehow in the sequel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of like, you know, well...
In the original, he doesn't get shot in the head. He just kind of runs away.
Well, no, he gets shot, and then he falls off the balcony, and then they're like, oh, he's dead, and then they walk downstairs, and he's gone.
Right.
So that part I do like about this movie as opposed to the first one, because it doesn't give you, like, the immediate cop-out of, like, oh, he's gone, like... There must be a second one coming. Like, this movie could have been a standalone Halloween movie.
And I'm surprised that it wasn't.
Yeah, because, I mean, like, at the very end, they kind of copy the falling off the balcony sequence, but it's Michael rushes Scout, or, you know, Laurie, and they both fall off the balcony, and she shoots him, and then she gets up, and she grabs the gun, and tries to shoot him while he's, like, unconscious on the ground, and then he grabs her, and then the gun finally goes off, and she's, like, covered in blood and screams. It ends in a very Rob Zombie way.
And we're led to believe that she shot him in the head.
It definitely looks like it, yeah, for sure.
Like, point blank in the head with a .357 Magnum, which would, like, put a hole the size of, like, a fucking grapefruit in your head.
Yeah, it's the whole back of your head is gone. But I don't know. I mean, more reasons why I think if you haven't seen the second movie... I am now going to suggest, after watching this movie, go and watch the second movie. If you want to really enjoy it, get pretty stoned before you watch it, because it's that kind of a weird movie. And then, I don't know. I think I like the second movie much, much better. And it definitely strays way farther away from, like, the standard Michael Myers Halloween, like, canon, and sort of creates this whole brand new thing that is much more entertaining and is something... I think I like Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, better than I like any of the other Halloween movies, which a lot of people are going to give me shit for.
But I mean, that's I think what I wanted from a Rob Zombie Halloween film was, like, absolutely insane Rob Zombie shit. Not like this, which is like, you know... Oh, he kind of, you know, he looks at the backstory of Michael Myers, which honestly, I mean, it's okay. Not something I really, like, you know, it's not anything I really ever had, like, a yearning to see, but it was interesting because Rob Zombie did it. And then it kind of transitions to this other stuff, and you're just like, all right, well, you know, this is pretty not exciting because this is just like a carbon copy of the original film. So I was hoping for more of, like, Rob Zombie just, like, making it House of a Thousand Corpses with Michael Myers.
Definitely watch the second one then. The second one is way more stylized, way weirder, so violent. Just, I saw that movie in theaters, and I took my girlfriend at the time to go and see it with me. And this was, like, when we had first, like, started dating, like, maybe a month after we had started dating. And I was like, let's go see Halloween 2. Like, you know, I love Rob Zombie movies. You know, let's go check this out. You know, I'm like 20 when it came out or something like that. And we go to this movie. And the first fucking 20 minutes of this movie are like, I'm going to equate it to how awesome the first 20 minutes of Raiders of the Lost Ark is. that is how violent the first 20 minutes of this movie is.
Yeah.
And the fact that she did not get up and walk out and dump me right there was like the most amazing thing I've ever witnessed in my life. After we got out of the movie, I was like, I'm kind of sorry for bringing you to this movie. And she was like, what? I liked it. And I was like, holy shit, will you marry me right now?
You know, but I think if we look at this, like, because the first film we watched this month was Nightmare on Elm Street from 2013.
And I heard you guys talk about that.
And that movie is a bad movie.
It's not great.
The worst part of that movie is the worst part of this movie. It does nothing interesting with the source material.
Yeah. This movie, I think, does more interesting things. Well, I don't know. See, both movies do the same thing where they give you a backstory that wasn't there before. So in Halloween, you get the backstory of Michael Myers, which you never really got ever in the early...
At least not in the original
ones. Yeah, you never got them in the original. And then the same thing you get with Nightmare on Elm Street is you get, like, at least you got a kind of a hint at a backstory in the originals, but they never, like, overtly came out and said it.
Right.
And then in the new one, they were like, oh, no, he was a pedophile. Like, he touched kids and was a horrible human being.
Which, to me, again, I made the case in that podcast that the more interesting way to approach it would have been, it turns out he was not a pedophile.
Oh, I totally agree. And then he's getting revenge on all these people because
they did.
He was.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was not a bad guy, but they had turned him into one. I think that would have been a much cooler way to go about it. And they kind of lead you in that direction. I mean, you guys already talked about this, but
this film doesn't really have that ability to do a whole lot of interesting stuff. Because there's not like a question of whether or not Michael Myers is a bad dude. He is. No question.
Oh, yes. He's just his whole, and I think they say it multiple times in the movie, you know, he's just, there's no remorse. There's nobody home. The lights aren't on. He's just a killing machine, and that's it. That's all he does now. Like, you know, at some point when he was 11 years old, he snapped and killed that kid from frickin'
Spy Kids.
From Spy Kids, yeah. He killed the Spy Kid, and then that was it. It was just a downward spiral from there. He killed his, like, alcoholic stepdad and his sister, who was, like, kind of a bitch to him. And her sister's boyfriend, who was just there to get laid. So, like, I feel kind of bad for that kid. And for some reason, you know, he doesn't kill the little girl. When he kills you know what? This movie is almost worth watching for one sequence that I love. And I actually watched it twice last night while I was watching it because I was so blown away by how cool it is. The sequence where he's in the hospital and he's having lunch with his mom and Dr. Loomis, and he's not saying anything, and he's just wearing the mask and just like being silent. And then his mom's like, okay, I'm gonna go now, like I'll see you later. And Dr. Loomis is like, okay, I'll walk you to your car. And he grabs the nurse to sit down with him. And then as they're sitting there, she picks up the photograph of him and his baby sister, and she says like, oh, cute kid. There's no way that you guys are related, or like something like that. Like, I don't know if she meant it to be a bitch or if she meant it to be like kind of a tongue-in-cheek joke thing.
Right.
Either way, Michael did not like it, and he fucking stabs her with a fork a bunch of times. And that sequence with the alarm going off, and then they kind of cut out all the other audio, and you just have this like picture of young Michael Myers going completely insane, and there's blood everywhere, and the mom is just losing her mind, and she is just screaming Michael, and the Dr. Loomis is just screaming Michael, but you don't hear any of that. All you hear is the alarm. That's a Rob Zombie shot right there. And that's what I wanted more of in this movie, is these really insane, like, stylized things.
And I think that's the real issue with a lot of these remakes, is the amount of room that these directors feel like they need to move around in the space of these remakes. I feel like these directors should be like, just do your own thing. But that's not what the studios want.
They don't, yeah. I don't know. I'm like really afraid of that we are living in a world where we are going to see all of our favorite movies get remade into shitty movies because people are just running out of ideas, and all the studios are going like, all right, hey, remember this movie that made a bunch of money 20 years ago, 30 years ago? Let's do it again. And I don't know.
I don't think you're wrong. So next year, we're getting a new Friday the 13th, and we're getting a new Halloween movie.
Who the fuck is directing a new Halloween movie this time?
I don't know who's directing it, but I know that John Carpenter is producing it.
I mean, okay.
So he's like signed off on it.
Okay. But it's like, does it exist in the universe of the original 17
I would assume
movies? So like you're going to bring back
Sequel 10, I believe it's the 10th sequel.
Oh my God.
I would assume it's a new, I would not assume that it has anything to do with the Rob Zombie film.
Well, do you think it's going to be like a standalone Halloween movie, like a complete reboot again? Or do you think it's going to be a sequel to the whole franchise of the first series of 8 or 9 movies? Which would you prefer?
I would prefer, I don't know. I think the problem with the Michael Myers character is you can't do anything Freddy-esque with him where they did with New Nightmare.
Where they completely changed everything up?
Yeah, Michael Myers is like, he's a guy. In reality, he lives and breathes and is a tangible, like, thing. Unlike Freddy, who's like, and he could have been any number of things, a la New Nightmare. I think that I would rather have, I don't know. I think I would rather have it just be a sequel.
I don't know.
Like a soft reboot type thing.
Yeah, like a Scream 4 type of situation.
Yeah.
Which I actually like Scream 4.
I think Scream 4 is better than anyone gives it credit for.
Yeah, I didn't hate it.
I think it'll be something like that. What about you? What would you rather have?
I don't know. The whole thing with Michael Myers and Halloween is that it's such a one-note deal. Like, the story, it should have just been one movie, and then, like, that's it. Like, maybe, and, like, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, or whatever, the original one, is a really cool movie, and it's really weird. Have you seen that?
I have.
I really like that movie. It's a fucking weird movie. But it's like, the reason that it's so cool is because it's so different from the formula of the regular Halloween, where you just have Michael Myers come out of nowhere, find Laurie Strode, try and murder everybody. Like, that's it. I'd almost prefer, like, just the standalone, like, we're not going to make any sequels. We're just going to tell the story of Michael Myers one time perfectly and be done with it. Like, that is almost what it should be. You know, the cop-outs of having Michael escape or survive or whatever and then keep coming back every Halloween. I don't know.
But that's the ultimate problem with, like, Michael and Jason, right?
Michael, Jason. Yeah, that's why I've never been, like, a big Friday the 13th
Ghostface, not so much, because Ghostface is always somebody different.
Yeah.
Because Ghostface is, like, more like the costume.
Yeah, it's like a mantle that gets passed.
Yeah.
Which is why those movies, I think, are just better movies in general. I mean, they're also 15 years newer, so they kind of learned from, like, the standard slasher tropes that were happening in the early 80s, late 70s, like, in all the way through the 80s.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of the reason why, like, I've never been, like, a super huge fan of slasher movies, because it's the same movie over and over and over again. And they just keep coming up with different reasons to make that movie, you know? Well,
and that's why I'm not really ever, like you said, I've never been big on Michael. I've never been big on Jason. I love Freddy because Freddy is more of a intangible idea that exists kind of on its own, like, special plane versus Jason and Michael, who are just like these, how are they still surviving?
Just because it's just sheer will. It's just sheer evil. I guess. It's just the force of the universe. For every good thing that happens, there has to be an equally terrible and evil thing that happens, and they are the embodiment of that.
Yeah.
So it's like, it sends a clear message of there is good in the world, there is evil in the world, and only absolute good can destroy absolute evil, or some version of that story. But it's like, I don't know. I think that story now is boring and outdated, and we've seen it, hundreds of times. And
that's why I'm hoping the film next year will be something that's like wholly different and original and an interesting way of approaching this character.
I want an end to Halloween. I want it to be the last Halloween movie. Give me some finality. Give me a Michael Myers character that's not a one-note character.
And even Rob Zombie's character is one note.
Right. So, like we talked about, the whole first half of the movie is perfect. You get this kid who then you see him sliding into from being like a semi-normal but like also fucked up kid to just getting more fucked up and more fucked up and more fucked up until he is just Michael Myers, the Michael Myers that we know, who doesn't talk, doesn't like feel anything, shows zero emotion and just kills without remorse, which you're going to stay true to the original character because that's how he is. He's just this unstoppable killing machine, and that's kind of what made him horrifying in the original movie. Is there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just happening and you can't stop it. But give me a Michael Myers that fucking talks like once. Give him a sentence to say at the end of the movie before Laurie Strode, melts him in lava like the Terminator. Maybe that's the only way you can kill him.
Well, and that's I think my issue with all of these movies is I have a hard time believing that these guys just keep coming back over and over again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Jason's a little bit different because Jason was like a kid who died, who then somehow became a zombified adult after his mom murdered an entire camp of kids.
Jason, per the sequels, never died.
Oh, really?
They thought that he died, but he wasn't dead. And he came back to avenge his mom.
Oh, see, that's how long it's been since I've seen any of the sequels to Friday the 13th.
But they don't make it very clear, so it's easy to interpret it that way. That's the problem.
Yeah, well, because if I'm going by the first movie, which honestly is the one that I've seen the most times and the one that I know the best, the way that his mom talks about it, she's just like, my boy drowned and all of this shit, and now I'm going to come back and I'm going to murder all of you because you let my kid die, which honestly is more scary to me than an actual undead but not undead zombie unstoppable hockey mask wearing machete wielding dude. I want to see like real live people doing horrible shit because like that's the stuff that really is going to keep me up at night. I don't know.
I think the ultimate takeaway from this film is as a director of these kinds of films, you need to do something interesting with it because otherwise everyone's just going to be like, well, you didn't do a whole lot interesting and it's not really your film.
Yeah. The voice wasn't Rob Zombie enough, and I don't know. It felt very restrained. Like very...
The second half especially.
Yeah, there's a lot of tiptoeing going on. As much as this movie is probably much more like violent and kind of grotesque than the like original one, that's only because you can get away with that stuff now, and you really kind of couldn't back in the late 70s. Like I said, if you're halfway interested in watching an actual Rob Zombie Halloween movie, watch the second one. It's so much better.
And that's what I want to see the second one now. So
yeah, it really actually, and kind of another reason why I like it so much is it kind of he sums everything up. It gives the whole thing like finality. Like it's kind of it. He doesn't leave it open for an endless amount of sequels. Like, he told the story that he wanted to tell, and he finished it. And that's what I want to see. If they, the Halloween movie that comes out next year, if they finish the story, I'll be happy with it. But if it's just like a reboot where they're like, cool, now we can make Halloween movies for the next 10 years again, then I'm not going to care.
I would assume that it's probably going to be the latter, not the former, but... I just know knowing the way Hollywood works, so.
Yeah, I don't know. That's like anything, man. I just want to see one good thing and then not have a bunch of sequels that like ruin it. Because then it just dilutes the idea and then you just get tired of it and you don't want to even see it anymore. Even going back to watch like the first one is, yeah.
Skip it or watch it in best performance.
I'm going to say watch it. Even though we're kind of
shit talking on this movie a little bit. If you are a fan of horror movies and Rob Zombie movies especially, or Michael Myers and Halloween in general, I think this movie has a really cool take. The first half of this movie for sure is definitely I think the first half of this movie is worth sitting through the second half of this movie. If you can find the theatrical cut of this movie, watch that because I think it's shorter.
Yeah, this movie being 2 hours long is a little much.
Yeah, if they, like I said, keep the first half of the movie almost exactly the way that it is, I think it's great. Cut down the second half of the movie by 30 minutes, or cut it down by 20 minutes and cut 10 minutes out of the beginning of the movie. Like then you've got yourself a movie that is like paced a little bit better than this movie is, because towards the end it just starts to drag. But yeah, I think it's definitely a watch for me. Best performance I'm going to give to Malcolm McDowell. He's really like the only person who's really given anything to work with and act wise,
Yeah.
Scout Taylor-Compton is just screaming and crying the whole time. She gets a lot more to do in the second movie, so you get to actually see her play the character of Laurie Strode, which is nice. The guy who plays Michael is silent and unstoppable.
Yeah.
And he's 7 feet tall. And that's all he needed to be. So he played it perfectly, but there's not a whole lot of range there. I'd have to go with Malcolm McDowell or the kid. I can't pronounce his name, so I'm not going to say it. But the kid who played young Michael Myers, he's the creepiest fucking kid I've ever seen in my life.
Right. He is something.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. If I was ever dealing with children and I saw a kid who acted the way that kid acted, I would run away. Oh my God. What about you?
I don't want to say it's a skip because I don't think it's a bad movie. I just think that there were some decisions that were made that I don't agree with. So I'll say it's a soft watch. I think it does some interesting stuff, but I think a lot of it is just kind of missed opportunity. Best performance, obviously, Malcolm McDowell. I do want to say, though, if we're talking like imposing figures of horror, this version of Michael Myers, this dude's 6'9".
Oh my God, he's the scariest Michael Myers you'll ever see in your life.
He's like, he has the presence that you want from a slasher.
Yeah, and you know what? I was actually... he moves, the way that he moves in this movie, he moves with purpose the entire time, and he moves very slowly, and almost never lunges or rushes or runs, which in the first movie, whoever played Michael, at certain points is just a maniac, just kind of running after people and flailing and acting like a normal person would act if they were on a killing rampage. And this Michael is a very purposeful Michael. I don't know.
And we interviewed Taylor Maine last year when we talked westerns. So it's kind of unfortunate we didn't get to ask him about this film, but he has the presence of a horror slasher that you want. And I think that one of the successes of this Rob Zombie film is casting him as Michael Myers.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Between him and Malcolm McDowell, everybody else can be recast, and I don't care. Those two guys are perfect casting-wise, for sure. Even more so in the second movie, when he gets a little bit more to do.
What do you think this film has on Rotten Tomatoes?
I'm gonna go pretty low on this one. I'm gonna go 20s. It's in the 20s somewhere. It's gotta be.
25%.
Yeah, that's what I would expect from this movie.
Rob Zombie doesn't bring many new ideas to the table in Halloween, making it another bloody disappointment for fans of the franchise.
Yeah, harsh, but kind of true. Just as my own curiosity, what does the second movie have on Rotten Tomatoes? Halloween 2. I wonder if it's, in my mind, I want to say that it probably has worse ratings on Rotten Tomatoes.
19%.
Yep. Yeah, it definitely has worse ratings.
I heard worse things about the second movie than I did the first one.
Yeah, I don't know. I love the second movie. I think it's freaking wonderful. It's so weird. It's so out there. If you the second movie is kind of has a little bit of the tone or a precursor to the tone of Lords of Salem. It's definitely not the same kind of movie, that sort of weird dread, satanic sort of
thing that's going on, but like there's a bunch of parts in it that are just weird. I'm going to watch that movie probably after we get off the phone, but I don't know. If I remember it as well as I think I remember it, because I do watch it fairly often, it's, in my opinion, a much better movie than this movie.
I always also feel like that, like, the character of Michael Myers is always like a very strange design choice because he's wearing this like full head mask that always kind of looked really goofy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And they sort of address that in the second movie too. So all of your gripes about Michael Myers are addressed in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. And I think maybe that's why people hate it, because they're like, this isn't Halloween. This isn't Michael Myers. What the fuck are you even doing?
Rob Zombie making it your own thing? How terrible.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. How dare you not just remake the first movie?
Well, yeah, it's one of those things like House of a Thousand Corpses is really shittily reviewed, but that movie's awesome and wonderful. For some reason, The Devil's Rejects, like, everybody thinks is the greatest thing ever. And I think it's a great movie, but I don't know. Maybe my opinion is just in complete contrary to.
I think you want more of like crazy Rob Zombie, and a lot of people want more like reserved, refined Rob Zombie.
Yeah, it is like, it's a lot more of like a straight up, I don't know. It's more of like a really well-made grindhouse drama, if that makes sense.
Right.
Because it's got that whole 70s like exploitation grindhouse, like just overly hyper-violent thing to it, but it's also like really, it's like kind of an emotional movie to watch if you don't like people getting murdered, because that's the whole movie.
Right.
But I think I like House of a Thousand Corpses way better. Even though like the characters in House of a Thousand Corpses are clunky and not as well thought out stylistically, and like just as a movie in general, I think it's way more fun.
Well, I mean, we'll see what Rob Zombie does with his next film, but I can say that this film definitely, so much of it felt him working inside of that box.
Yeah, definitely. Did you see his new movie that just came out, 31?
I did not.
Yeah.
Not good?
You don't need to watch it.
So no, not good.
Yeah, nah, it was not. You know what? It's crazy because I had such high hopes for it because I like all of his movies. But yeah, it just, I don't know. The whole movie like revolves around a character that does not show up until the last 30 minutes of the movie. So I don't know. It's weird.
Before I talk about next month's theme and the first Kulturecast for November, anything you want to plug, Eric?
Let's see. What do we got going on? Wovoka, the band that I attempt to play guitar really loudly in, is playing 2 shows in November. On the 10th of November, we are playing in Long Beach, with our friend Sutratma and this amazing band North, from Arizona. It's kind of the kickoff night before party show for Midnight Communion, which is like a big weekend long set of shows featuring a bunch of awesome, great bands from the LA area and everywhere. So if you're a fan of like sludgy, doomy, heavy music in general and you want to get tinnitus over the span of one weekend, definitely come out to that. And then later on in the month, on the 17th, which is actually only a week later, we are playing a show with Mustard Gas and Roses, which is a local band from LA that's got a bunch of great guys in it from other LA bands. Wolfhammer and Tombs, a couple of black metal bands that are pretty awesome. So those will be some fun shows. And then after that, there's other stuff that might be happening. So if you live in LA and you want to come and see us get weird, come out. We'll be there. We'll be partying.
And as always, you can follow me on Twitter at Kulturestash. And if you like what you're hearing now, head on over to cultureshock.com/Kulturecast. Check out 100+ episodes of the Kulturecast. We're also on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and all podcast apps on iOS and Android. You can hear our intro-outro music provided by the lovely band Wovoka, which Mr. Eric is part of. Obviously, he just got done plugging it. That song is off of their album titled Saros, S-A-R-O-S. And that song is Lament, which they never play live.
Never.
Ever.
You know what?
Yeah. I feel like we have to write a new song to give you that we'll never play live either. and then we can rotate Lament back into the playing live situation.
Well, I mean, I won't complain. And patreon.com/culture_shock is where you can go to kick a couple dollars our way. It's not free or cheap to keep the lights on at 0069 Culture Shock Tower, so any little bit helps. Next month, so a day from now, we are going to be talking fantasy movies ahead of the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them release, the newest film in the wizarding world of Harry Potter films.
Oh no.
The Harry Potter films have grown on me. I used to be like completely against it, and now I'm like, after listening to all the audiobooks in the last like 2 months, I've been enjoying them.
Oh, you did the whole audiobook thing for all of the Harry Potters.
I am on the last one right now, yeah.
The audiobooks for those are actually really great.
The audiobooks are better than the movies. They're more they are better like cinematic versions of the films, which is
the books are always better, and then those audiobooks in particular are really, really well done. So yeah.
We will kick off Fantasy Movie Month with watching the original Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, or as it was known in the UK, the Philosopher's Stone. So we'll be watching that film this Thursday. Eric, thanks as always for sitting down and talking with me. I know you love horror movies, and now I won't get to have you on a podcast for another year, essentially. So.
Oh no, I'll just I'll just see if one of these months I can sneak in a horror movie that fits with whatever the topic is.
A fantasy horror movie.
Oh, there you go.
It exists. It's out. So yeah, make sure to check that one out.